Why don't you tell us where we are and what you're doing here?
I'm here in the UK with Audio Network, recording my Patterns album, which are basically all my original compositions for piano, and for the first time with live strings.
Can you tell us about how this Audio Network project came about?
Yeah, I always wanted my music to be on screen and on TV, and when I met Audio Network, it was a perfect match because all my dreams were going to come true, especially with a live orchestra. That meant so much to me. I've been working on this for a year, and there isn't really a set timeline for a creative person. You need to have all kinds of different emotions and experiences and then have them mature over time, and then reflect and channel all of those in your music. So in this album, there's so many different emotions and different stories for each track, and it took me a year to kind of put them all together.
What is your favourite part of that recording process then?
So first of all, I love recording it and then hearing it back live, because when you're in the process of creating them, you don't really always have the big picture there. Then also the guidance I got from Audio Network was amazing. They really prepared me well for this, and with the deadlines and what I had to do. And then of course, I love sharing everything I do with my fans, and to get their input and reactions, it really gives me energy to create more music.
What was the story or the inspiration behind the Patterns album for Audio Network?
So my Patterns album came from the idea of layering the notes, kind of like a fabric. And you look at the compositions almost from a macro lens. You see the threads, imagine all the notes being threads and intertwined together, and you see similar patterns and repeated motives, but then towards the middle and end, they end up layering each other and then growing together.
If we go back to the very beginning, what is your story with music?
It's a really funny one. So my mom was pregnant and she went to see Amadeus film, the story of Mozart basically. And whenever there was music, I started moving so fast and crazily that she thought she was going to give birth. And so she had to leave the cinema. And that's when she decided, I bet she's going to be a musician, because I stopped moving whenever the music stopped.
What was the first piece of music that you wrote, the very first?
So I've been composing a lot as a kid, and it was never really official. Like, I was really focused on my career as a concert pianist and playing really perfect classical pieces. And so it was my kind of like a secret thing. I never really shared these compositions with people, but I kept improvising, and some of the most important moments in my life were when both of my grandmothers would sit and they would tell me to improvise for them. And I would just make up melodies and themes, and they would be my VIP audience,
And how would you say your style and taste has developed and moved on since then?
I have to say that my style is very diverse. I never like to be put in a box. I wear different colors. I have very different emotions. I'm just as other human. And I also have very different styles of taste in music. Like, if you look at my Spotify playlist, you'll be very confused. I guess what matters is good quality music, right? And what makes you feel something and what makes you feel human.
Do you play every day?
When I'm inspired, I play, but if I'm not inspired, it's really not a good idea to create music, because you need to really be in the mood and the mindset.
What is it you like to do when you're not composing and playing? What goes on in your personal life?
I really love socializing. That's a need I have because I'm always isolated, working on my own in my studio with my cat. So it's great when I meet my friends and other people and hear their stories.
What can people expect from the upcoming music?
This is where I feel like they will have a soundtrack to their emotions. Finally I want them to say, this is exactly how I feel. Like, whether they're in love or whether they're on an adventure or whether they're studying or working, I want them to use all these tracks for their life soundtrack.
Just so we know a bit more about you, how would you describe yourself in 3 words?
I am intense, emotional, and sophisticated.
What about something that we don't know about you?
I have ADHD. It's kind of like a superpower because I can hyper-focus. So, I can start working for hours with zero distractions. Even if you're like passing by, I won't even notice. But it's as hard to start working. So it has its blessings and then really challenging parts as well.
Who or what is your biggest inspiration?
Nature. Nature has everything. Like I learned so much from observing and looking around, like oceans, wildlife, forests. Like it's so big. It's the big picture. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like we get stuck in small things.
How do you start composing a track then? Do you have a process? Does it change? Does it vary?
I usually start improvising, whether after an experience of emotions or some event. And so that's where I get my inspiration. I sit at the piano and then I record on my phone the improvisation. And then I listen to it and then pick the best parts of anything like melody or a theme, motif or harmony. And then I build on that idea.
So when you started making music, what was the one thing you wish you knew at that point?
I wish I knew that my original compositions mattered and my voice mattered, basically.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
If you do something right once, you can always do it right.
Is there like a song or a piece of music that you'd wish you'd written?
It would be the Beethoven symphonies. I just want all of them.
What are you most proud of in your career so far?
Now, this is a milestone for me and I can't believe it's happening.
In terms of being in the music industry as a female classical musician, it's a really kind of male-dominated part of the music industry. What has your experience been?
There's so much pressure to look and act a certain way, but I have never been discriminated against. I'm really actually excited to bring my feminine energy into this industry.
On that kind of similar note, how could the industry support more young girls to become musicians, do you think?
Financial. That's the biggest issue right now. If there was a better infrastructure to support female artists and creatives, more young females would have role models to look up to.
And finally, what do you like most about working with Audio Network?
I love the whole process. They're a great team and they've helped me throughout the entire process of like how to prepare for the recording session, what to do, and it's been a very exciting experience for me. I feel like I'm part of the family now.